Am I audible? Yeah.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
So our last topic was, I guess. Okay. In the chapter number 20, locomotion and movement. So we have completed the first half that was regarding muscle physiology. Second half was regarding endoskeleton. In endoskeleton, in the last lecture, we discussed about axial. How many bones are included in axial skeleton? 80. Jugal. Good beginning. Zaniel. Good. 80, isn't it? And total number of bones in the human body, adult human body, 206. Galo is correct. So how many are left for appendicular skeleton? The one which is yes, Galo, Jugal, etc. 126 is the correct answer. Misha also. So 126 is the correct answer. The number of bones in the appendicular skeleton, the part of the skeleton which is concerned with, related with limbs. Okay. Now, as you can see, you could see the diagram of that bones which are included in axial or apical appendicular skeleton. Now, let me give you the brief idea about it, and then we'll go in detail of the same. Brief outline of appendicular skeleton. This includes two types of bones: limb bones and girdle bones. Amongst the limb bones, forelimb bones, hind limb bones. Amongst the girdles are the structures which connect limb bones to the axial skeleton. I repeat, girdles are the structures of endoskeleton which connect limb bones to the axial skeleton. The one particularly that is connecting the forelimb bones with the axial skeleton, that is called as pectoral girdle, and the one which is connecting hind limb bones with the axial skeleton, that is known as pelvic girdle. Again, I will use that diagram to make you understand. The profile of the appendicular skeleton. Yes, this is the one. As you can see that these are the forelimbs, the bones of the forelimbs. Can you see they remain connected to the axial skeleton by these structures? These structures are included in girdle, the pectoral girdle, shoulder region girdle, shoulder girdle or pectoral girdle. And if you see this, the girdle that is connecting hind limb bones with the axial skeleton, we call this as pelvic girdle. We call this as pelvic girdle. यहाँ पे आपका अगर एक्सियल स्केलेटन है तो यहाँ पे आपके फोर लिम्स है, यहाँ पे आपके हाइंड लिम्स है. So just have a look at it. Between forelimbs and axial skeleton, the shoulder girdle or a pectoral girdle. Similarly, between hind limbs and the axial skeleton, the connecting structure is a pelvic girdle. So let's talk about these bones which are included in the appendicular skeleton. First one, forelimb bones. Give me 1 second. Textbook diagram. Now, if you look at the bones which are included in the forelimb, you should understand the parts. In your hand, the first part is upper arm. The next part is forearm. Then there is a wrist region. Then palm. And then your fingers, thumb and fingers. I repeat, in your forelimb, in your hand, parts included are upper arm in your biceps triceps region, forearm, wrist, palm, thumb and fingers. Are you all clear with that? Are you all clear with that? Yeah. Now I explain which bones in which region. So first of all, in your upper arm, there is a single bone that is called as humerus. Single bone called as humerus. In your forearm, there are two bones. One is radius, another one is ulna. Together are called as radio-ulna, but we specify radius bone and ulna bone. Acha, the one in the line of thumb, this one, in the line of thumb, that is the radius. So the other one is the ulna. Then comes wrist. In the wrist, there are 8 bones. These are called as carpals. These are called as carpals. 8 bones in the wrist, they are called as carpals. Then in the palm, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1 towards thumb and 4 towards the fingers, 1 for each finger. The extended long bones, thin long bones are metacarpals. They are metacarpals. And next, in the thumb and fingers, the small little bones are called phalanges. They are known as phalanges. 2 in thumb and 3 in each finger. 2, 3, 3, 3, 3. Now, can you work out total how many bones in each forelimb of human, each hand of human? Galav is the first one with the correct answer. 30 is the correct answer. How come 30? Have a look. 1 humerus, 1 radius, 1 ulna, 8 carpals, 5 metacarpals, and 2, 3, 3, 3, 3. That means 14 phalanges, like that. 14 plus 5, 19. 19 plus 8, 27. Plus 1, 1, 1, 3. Together 30. 30 bones included in the forelimb. Of course, 2 forelimbs, that will make up to 60. So 60 bones in your forelimb all together. बोलिए, clear है concept? With little in-depth information on these bones. Now, check out this one. Can you see which part, first of all, in this region, which part is highlighted? Part of the hand, not the bones I'm asking. Which part of the hand is exactly? It is the wrist. It is the wrist. In wrist, the type of bones are which one? Which are the bones which constitute our wrist region? Yeah, carpals. Carpal वो gynoecium के लिए हो जाएगा. Carpal is for the bones. How many are there? Exactly 8. Have a look. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, number 8. Very small bones. 8 of them in your wrist. These are the carpals. What do you call these bones as? What do you call these bones as? Metacarpals. Okay. So now the profile of the forelimb bones must be clear to you. Now I can afford to ask questions on the same. Let me start with this. Chaliye, 5 parts I have mentioned about your uh, forelimb, about human forelimb. So can we have a name of each part? This part. Upper arm. Which bone? I won't take the name of students. I'll just go through it fast. Humerus. Then, which is the second part? Forearm. These bones are which one? Radius and ulna. ये वाला ए वाला कौन सा और बी वाला कौन सा? A is which one? All are wrong. A is radius. कैसे radius? It is in the line of thumb. ये thumb की line में है इसलिए ऐसा याद रखने का. The one which is on outer side in the line of thumb, that is the radius. The other one is supposed to be ulna. Then which region in the forelimb? Next region is which one? Wrist. Which bones and how many in number? Fine. Next would be which region? In palm. Specify which bones and how many in number. 5 metacarpals. And last, what is there? Thumb and fingers, exactly. Which bones are there in the thumb and fingers? Name the bones. phalanges. Write down the number of phalanges right from thumb to the last finger. नहीं, कैसे लिखते हैं उसको? ब्रेकअप के साथ कैसे लिखते हैं? एग्जैक्टली। आर्ची, आपने 4 लिखा, टोटल 2333 लिखा है, तो फिफ्थ फिंगर का आपने मेंशन नहीं किया. Aksha was correct. 23333. 4 times 3, isn't it? Very well done, all of you. You have understood it very well. Then we go for next one. Next is the hind limb. See, parts, if you say this is the thigh region, here shin, पीछे का पार्ट काफ कहते हैं, यहाँ पे थाई कहते हैं, फिर शीन फ्रंट में और पीछे काफ कहते हैं, यहाँ पे एंकल कहते हैं, नीचे फिर होता है वो सोल और toes. Instead of finger, we rather use the word toes. These are the parts of your leg. Thigh region, shin, ankle, sole and toes. Foot में ankle होता है, heel होता है, sole होता है, फिर toes होते हैं. So that these are the parts of your leg or your hind limb. Okay? और ये part को, ये particular point, ये joint को कहते हैं knee joint. Now let me explain the bones which are there in your hind limb. Look at them. Number 1, in the thigh region, femur, single bone, longest bone of the body, very strong bone. Next to that, shin region, tibia and fibula. Tibia and fibula. Tibia and fibula are the 2 bones in the shin region. Now, if you see in the knee joint, there is one bone called as patella, and along with that, this articulation is facilitated by femur from the upper side and tibia from the lower side. Of course, fibula is not participant in the same. If somebody asks you which bones constitute the knee joint, you should write down femur, patella and tibia. Patella is a very small bone in the knee joint position. It is called kneecap also. That was about the femur, patella, tibia, fibula. Coming to the ankle, the bones are called as tarsals. Now there are 7 tarsals. There are 7 tarsals. A wrist had 8 carpals. An ankle has got 7 tarsals. Subsequently, in the sole part, there are 5 metatarsals and phalanges in the toes, total 14. Big toe has got 2, and each remaining toe will have 3 over there. So 3, 3, 3, 3. Total comes to 14. 1 femur in thigh region, 1 tibia and 1 fibula in shin region. At the juncture of the femur and tibia, 1 small bone at the knee joint position, that is patella. Coming down in the ankle region, there are 7 tarsals. In sole, there are 5 metatarsals. And in the toes, there are phalanges, 2 in a big toe, 3 for each remaining toe. Like that. Total number of bones in hind limb. Galo, Fatima, correct. 30 is the correct answer. Excuse me. 30 is the correct answer. Okay, that's a good reply. Now I will ask you a question to revise the entire point. Not a clear diagram. Chaliye, in a thigh region, which bone? Femur, correct. Axazanal, correct. By the way, what's the speciality of this bone? Correct. Zanil archihena, correct. Fatima. It's the longest bone in the body. Which is the smallest bone? Stepani, but right, stapes. Rishi is correct, Fatima was correct. Stapes, that's the one. Stapes. Stapes bini stapes. There was go. Stapes is the smallest bone in the body. As far as strongest is concerned, there are two different thoughts prevalent about it. Number one, some believe that the mandible, the lower jawbone, is the strongest, and others believe that the femur is the strongest. So now these are the two different opinions. So they have not reached to any conclusion so far. So agar smallest than stapes is the correct answer. Longest than femur is the correct answer, and strongest, so you can say femur as well as mandible, arguably both are the one. Have you all understood? Coming back to the hind limb, in the in the thigh region, the femur, in the next region, shin region, these two. अच्छा, A कौन सा और B कौन सा? A कौन सा और ये B कौन सा? Zenil wrong. A कौन सा? A. Rudra has written perfectly. A is tibia and B is fibula, ऐसे लिखा है उसने. अब तो कुछ भी लिखो तो हमें क्या पता चले आप A के लिए लिख रहे हो या B के लिए लिख रहे हो. That's the way to give answer. Afia has written A tibia and B fibula. What about this joint is to be known as which joint? The joint is patella, kuch bhi, pheka pheki. Knee joint. The joint is a knee joint, remember. This small bone over there is which bone? Patella. If I ask you which bones constitute the knee joint, what will be your answer? Patella, tibia, and femur. Femur, patella, and tibia. That's the right way to write it down. Femur, patella, and tibia. Okay. About this ankle region bones. tarsals, and in sole. Achha, tarsals are 7. Thank you for reminding me. Thank you, dear students. It's good that you reminded me that there are 7. And next region with bone, metatarsals 5 in number. That's a very good reply. And then you write down which bones are there in your toes, name of those bones. 14 phalanges. In which way? With the breakup? Wow, that's good reply. 2, 3, 3, 3, 3. So it's a very damn simple thing, na? It's easy. So total number of bones in the hind limb? 30, isn't it? So 2 hind limbs total 60, isn't it? See, if I ask you total number of bones in your limbs, 120. Total number of bones in your appendicular skeleton? Exactly, 126. Saurabh, Archie and others, correct? Yeah. So how many bones are left for girdles? Zanil Rudra, correct, 6. Out of which, have a look, out of those 6, 4 in the pectoral girdle, that's a shoulder girdle, and 2 bones in the pelvic girdle. So that will make up the entire appendicular skeleton. बोलिए पता चला हमें 6 bones का study बाकी है. Pelvic girdle के 2 bones, so 2 bones constituting pelvic girdle and 4 bones constituting the shoulder girdle. That much is left in our study. I hope you have understood that much. Now let me begin with first in this, that is pelvic or this pectoral girdle, the pectoral girdle. Now, first of all, if you have a look at it, this much in your shoulder region, this girdle connecting your forelimbs with the axial skeleton, it is called as a pectoral girdle. It is named as pectoral girdle. So let's talk about the pectoral girdle first. देखो उसका बैक साइड का व्यू है ये. और ये उसका फ्रंट साइड का व्यू पार्ट है. ये जो ग्रीन कलर वाला स्ट्रक्चर है ना, ये वाला. These 2 bones are called clavicles. These 2 are known as which one? Clavicles, these 2. And at the back side, can you make out at the back side there are 2 bones? This one, these 2. These 2 are known as scapula. These two are known as which one? Scapula. The two scapula at the back side, that is on the dorsal side, and two clavicles on the ventral side. Together make the structure what is called as pectoral girdle, the girdle in the shoulder region to interconnect forelimb bones with the axial skeleton. Have you all understood? Madam, just if you can switch off the video for a while, recording for a while. Two clavicle bones on our ventral side. When we wear the shirt, our collars will drop on this part. This is the clavicle bones. And can you see those at the back side? Triangular plate-like structures. So if these are clavicles, these are the scapulae, individually scapula. Together make our pectoral girdle, our shoulder girdle. देखो इसमें दोनों दिखाई दिए, साथ में दिखाई देते हैं. ये फ्रंट व्यू है, क्लैविकल दिख रहे हैं और वो बैक साइड में, बैकड्रॉप में आपको स्कैपुला भी दिखेगा. आर यू ऑल क्लियर विद द कंसेप्ट? थोड़ा कॉम्प्लिकेटेड है, इसीलिए मैं अगेन एंड अगेन ये एम्फसाइज कर रहा हूँ इस मैटर पे. टेल मी. दो बोन्स थोड़े आगे है, वेंट्रल साइड पे है, और दो बोन्स पीछे है, मिलके बनाते हैं व्हाट इज कॉल्ड एज द pectoral girdle. Let's first talk about scapula bone, which is at the back side. चलिए, first part, scapula. Scapula are flattened triangular shaped bones. Their shape, if you see, triangular. Just give me 1 minute, huh? Madam, stop the record. Are you all back? Fine, have a look at it. We're discussing about the pectoral girdle, also known as shoulder girdle, made up of two equal halves. Each half has got one clavicle and one scapula. Basically, pectoral girdle is a connection between our forelimb, hand bones, our forelimb bones, and the axial skeleton. I told you that at the back side, on the back side of the body, there are two bones. These are the scapulae. As you can see, they are triangular shaped, flattened bones. They are lying over the region of ribs between second to seventh rib. If somebody properly observes it, it runs parallel to the second onwards up to seventh number rib. Second से seventh rib, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th rib तक extend होता है ये structure. That is the scapula. if you see on this scapula itself, now if I show you like this is that scapula bone. On its flattened surface, upper part, there arises one projection. Can you make out this projection arising over there? It is elevated ridge. Elevated means कोई surface के parallel running surface के ऊपर एक raised structure हो, उसको elevation कहते हैं. So पूरा scapula flattened है, triangular flattened structure. और उसके upper part में from this flattened surface एक elevated structure होता है, दिखता है. This elevated ridge is called as spine. This is termed as spine. इसको spine कहते हैं. इस elevated ridge को spine कहते हैं. Okay. This spine, this is the spine. Elevated ridge is a spine. And it makes a process. This spine is projected further into a process. Process which is called as acromion process. इसको acromion process कहते हैं. It takes a turn from the surface of the flattened scapula. It is coming out as a raised structure called spine. This spine is projected outward and then it curves and then it progresses towards ventral side. And on a ventral side, it will go and meet the clavicle. See, the raised region itself is called as this raised surface itself is called as a spine. And then this spine takes extension and it curves. This process which is extended out from the spine outward, यहाँ तक spine है, फिर इसमें से एक process जो arise हो रहा है, this process is called as acromion process. और वो आगे जाके, आगे means ventral side तक extend करता है, and there it is gonna meet the clavicle bone. देखिए ये आगे जाके clavicle से मिलता है. ये यहाँ से बैक व्यू है, कर्व किया और आगे जाके वो क्लेविकल बोन से मिलने वाला है. ऐसा ये वाला बैक व्यू है, बैक साइड से देखो तो ऐसा लगेगा. ये फ्रंट व्यू है. ओके, सी यहाँ पे बैक साइड से वो कर्व होके आया है and here it is meeting this point it is meeting the clavicle bone. उससे पहले यहाँ पे उसका प्रोसेस आता है. So acromion process is an extended structure from the spine. It takes a curve and towards the ventral side it goes and meet the clavicle bone. So each half will have a one scapula and one clavicle on its side. Actually, it is very difficult to show this stuff in a two-dimensional view. 3D view हो या फिर running lecture हो तो ठीक है. Have a look at it. यहाँ पे आपको थोड़ा और clearly दिखेगा. Can you make out? How the scapula from the backside, from its spine, makes the projection called as acromion process, and it curves and moves forward, and there it is articulating with this bone, which is a clavicle bone. Can you make out that much? I think this is very clear in this particular diagram. As far as clavicle is concerned, you look at the clavicle. You know, long slender bone, long bone है, slender bone है, with two curvatures. इसमें दो कर्व्स भी होते हैं. अच्छा, इसको कॉलर बोन भी कहते हैं, क्योंकि हमारा जब जैसे कोई शर्ट है तो उस टॉप है, उसका कॉलर यहाँ पे लाई करता है, तो उसको कॉलर बोन भी कहते हैं. Can you make out? In an outer position, clavicle articulates with what? On its outer position, clavicle articulates with what? In outer position, the clavicle is articulated with what? Am I audible to all? Spine nahi. Which bone altogether? Outer means this. Outwardly, it is seen. If it is seen, it is articulated with which bone? Scapula. You got to be blind enough not to able to see this thing. Such a clear thing you are not able to see. That the clavicle on its outer side, it is articulated with scapula. And on inner side, it is articulated with what? Sternum. So pair of clavicles, thin, long, slender bones with two curvatures, inner end rested on sternum, outer end articulated with scapula, particularly its acromion process. That is something you should remember. Now, this process is which process? Acromion. This bone is which bone, by the way? Scapula. In the scapula bone, in the scapula bone, below the acromion process, in this region, there is one depression, one cavity. This cavity is known as glenoid cavity. This cavity is known as glenoid cavity. What is a glenoid cavity? In the scapula bone, towards its surface, outer surface, below the acromion process, there is one cavity, the cavity called as glenoid cavity. Can you see which bone is articulating in the glenoid cavity? Do you know the name of this bone? Yes, Gala, you are absolutely right. Humerus. The first bone of forelimb, humerus, articulates into the glenoid cavity, the head of the humerus. ये उसका head region है. So head of the humerus articulates into the glenoid cavity. The joint is called as shoulder joint. This joint is known as shoulder joint. This is the point where forelimbs remain articulated to the pectoral girdle. I'll show you one more time. This cavity in the scapula bone below the acromion process on a lateral side, there is a cavity in which the head of the humerus bone articulates. The cavity is called as glenoid cavity, and the joint established is called as shoulder joint. That is called as shoulder joint. Is this understood? Pectoral girdle profile clear to you all? चलिए स्टार्ट करते हैं. Profile of pectoral girdle. What is another name of pectoral girdle? What is another name of it? Galav, correct. Shoulder girdle. Second question. It is made up of two halves. In each half, how many bones are there? Galav, correct. Two halves, and each half has two bones. Of these two bones, one of them is which one? On a ventral side? Clavicle. And another one on a dorsal side? Archie henna. Scapula. Clavicle and scapula. One in each half, so two halves will make it four. What about the shape of scapula? Scapula shape कैसा है? Triangular, flattened structure. It is lying over how many ribs number wise? On a dorsal side, on a rib cage, it is lying over 2 to 7. Ribs number 2 to 7. Its dorsal flat surface produces or gives rise to an elevated ridge. What is that ridge known as? Spine, correct. Zanil and others, correct. And this spine is further projected outward and curving, reaching to the ventral side. This projection is called as what? This expanded structure is called as what? Acromion process, exactly. And just below the acromion process in the scapula, there is one depression. What you call that depression as? Archie, very good reply. Zanil, very good reply. Glenoid cavity. And which part of which bone is going to articulate here? Zanil and Saurabh, very lightning fast. Head of the humerus. And what you call this joint as? Speed decrease ho gaya. Jugal and Rudra, correct. Shoulder joint, that shoulder joint. And what's the shape of these clavicle bones? What's the shape of this clavicle? Long, slender, two curvatures, isn't it? What is another name of these bones? Archie, very fast. Collarbones, Saurabh, correct. And what about their articulation on inner side? Each clavicle on inner side articulated with sternum. वो axial skeleton के साथ यहाँ पे articulate हो रहा है. अच्छा, what about the outer end of the clavicle in connection with scapula bone process over there? Let's go to the next one. Hip girdle, that is called as pelvic girdle. This is the pelvic girdle, which will articulate the axial skeleton and hind limbs over there. That is the pelvic girdle. How many bones constitute the pelvic girdle, by the way? 2, isn't it? So each half itself is a one bone. Each half is a one bone that is termed as coxal bone. Each half is a one bone that is called as coxal bone. I'll show you. So these are called as hip bones or coxal bones. This is the one. The coxal bone, one of them. Okay. Actually, each of this coxal bone itself is made up of 3 different bones. It is made up of 3 different bones. Ilium, ischium, and pubis. Ilium, ischium, and pubis are the 3 bones which constitute the one that is called as coxal bone. Actually ये 3 bones होते हैं, लेकिन इतने firmly fused हो जाते हैं एक दूसरे से कि आप इसको recognize नहीं कर सकते कि कौन सा कौन वाला है. So that is how it is. It is this one bone called coxal bone. More or less, I think ये pubis होता है. ये वाला है, इसको ischium कहते हैं. और ये जो बड़ा वाला है उसको इलियम कहते हैं. So these 3 bones together make what is called as coxal bone. बोलिए, क्लियर है यहां तक का कंसेप्ट आपका? आगे जाते हैं. At the point of fusion of the above bones, there is a cavity that is called as acetabulum. ये जो तीनों बोन्स कहीं पे मीट करते हैं, जैसे यहां तक है आपका प्यूबिस, ये वाला है आपका ईस्चियम, और ये वाला है आपका इलियम. अगर तो ये जो तीनों का जो जंक्चर है पॉइंट, ये वाला, where three of them meet each other, this point they create a cavity depression. This is called as acetabulum cavity. जैसे वो scapula में था ना glenoid cavity, where the head of the humerus was getting articulated. यहाँ पे head of the femur, the coxal bones cavity called acetabulum cavity, in which head region of the thigh bone that is called femur is gonna articulate. फीमर का जो ये हेड यहाँ पे आर्टिकुलेट होता है इन द एसिटाबुलम कैविटी, वो हेड ऐसा होता है और वहां पे एक बॉल लाइक स्ट्रक्चर है. इसको कहते हैं वो हिप बॉल, जो कहां पे फिट होगा, इस कैविटी में फिट होगा. द जॉइंट इज the joint is termed as, this cavity is by the way acetabulum cavity. ये कौन सा बोन है, फेमर बोन. और ये जॉइंट कौन सा एस्टेब्लिश होगा यहाँ पे, hip joint. This is gonna be which joint over here, hip joint. Remember, it will be this region over there. शोल्डर में, ये हिप में, वहां पे स्कैपुला का ग्लेनॉइड कैविटी, यहाँ पे acetabulum, the coxal bones acetabulum cavity. There the head of the humerus and here the head of the femur. There it is called shoulder joint. This is called as a hip joint. Shreya was asking about that, what is that ball surgery and ball which is getting broken up frequently. Head of the femur bone, ये femur का जो head होता है, which articulates in the acetabulum cavity of the coxal bone to make a hip joint. That ball is a hip ball. और इसको जल्दी ब्रेक हो जाता है क्योंकि जब हम गिरते हैं तो पूरा वेट हमारे हिप्स पे आता है, इस पॉइंट पे आता है, और ये इजीली क्रैक हो जाता है. Shreya, you asked a question. Is it clear now? I don't know, she is not there maybe. चलिए आगे जाते हैं. You can see that this is which part, by the way. ये ऊपर क्या है, यहाँ पे बीच में से क्या पास हो रहा है? This is a part of which structure? This yellow and blue belong to which structure? VC, isn't it? Particularly the sacrum part of the VC in contact with which bones over here? Coxal bones. So here the axial skeleton is articulated to the pelvic girdle at this point. You can see it. Check out this. You could see that the sternum of the axial skeleton was meeting with the pectoral girdles, clavicles. Here, sacrum of vertebral column belonging to axial skeleton, connected to the coxal bones of pelvic girdle. So that is how this pelvic girdle is articulating the hind limb bones on one side and uh, axial skeleton on another side. Last point regarding this pelvic girdle. Can you see this joint where the two pelvic girdles are meeting mainly with their pubic bones, pubis. Can you make out that? दोनों side के pubis bones belonging to coxals meeting each other. This joint here is termed as pubic symphysis. That is termed as pubic symphysis. What is a pubic symphysis? Look at it. The two coxal bones of the pelvic girdle, they meet ventrally and they establish a joint which is called as pubic symphysis. This joint is established by fibrous cartilage between these two bones. Between these two bones, which cartilage is present? Fibrous cartilage. अगर आपको याद हो तो मैंने बोला था आपको hyaline cartilage is present between ribs and sternum. Do you remember? Hyaline cartilage establishes that joint between ribs and sternum. So here I would say fibrous cartilage, another variety of cartilage. Fibrous cartilage articulates the two coxal bones to establish what is called as pubic symphysis joint over there. This joint is called as pubic symphysis. So that was about the pelvic girdle. Let's revise it. Okay, point number 1. What is another name of pelvic girdle? Hip girdle, isn't it? How many bones constitute it and which bones constitute it? Two coxal bones, two hip bones. Each coxal bone itself is made up of fusion of which three other bones? Inseparable, so now we don't count them separately. Ilium, ischium, and pubis. Acha, ileum, ilium is the part of that large intestine. So usse mix up nahi karne ka. Ilium, ilium and ilium. So ilium, ischium, and pubis bones. What about the point at which all the three, a point where all the three are meeting each other? That convergence point, that meeting point, fusion of the three bones, the cavity called as acetabulum cavity. What fits into this cavity? Head of the femur, jugal. Wow. Yes, yeah, very good reply, and correct. And which joint is established over there? Isha, correct. Hip joint. Zanil, correct. Hip joint. And on upper side, the coxal bones meet with which part, articulate with which part of the VC? Jugal, correct. Sacrum. And in lower part, the two coxal bones meet each other to establish which joint. Name the joint. Pubic symphysis. And which tissue establishes this joint? Let me see who is the first one. Zenil is the one. What fibrous? लिखो डिटेल में. Fibrous cartilage लिखना है ना. Fibrous क्या लिखने का? Well, with this we conclude it. We conclude your today's lecture. Ma'am, you can stop the recording.